Hi, my name's Jamie and I'm part of the technical team here at RAM Tracking. And welcome to our very first RAM Connect webinar session, where today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about geofences. So, what geofences are, how they might be useful for you and for your business, and how you would implement these in our system as part of your wider tracking strategy. But for anybody not already in the know, what are geofences? Simply put, geofences are custom locations on the system which can be used to alert you if a vehicle enters or exits the geofence boundary, or we can build reports based on the vehicle's activity inside that geofence area. Now, with geofences, I do often hear some misconceptions, such as that they're only really useful for asset security, or that they're difficult to set up and manage, or that users are worried that if they set up geofences, they're going to be bombarded with notifications and will suffer from alert overload, as I call it. So, what I'm hoping is by the end of this session, you're going to see a range of the benefits that geofences can have, and how, if you set these up correctly, you can tailor these down so that you only receive the essential notifications that you need for your day to day operations. So, why might you use geofences? Across our customers, I see these used in all sorts of ways, from automatic clock in and clock out systems, where the fleet manager gets a notification as vehicles enter or exit a site, to monitoring unauthorized use of assets outside of business hours. So you set a geofence up around your driver's home address or a yard, and then if the vehicle moves out of the geofence outside of business hours, you know that that's either unauthorized private use or even a potential security concern. Um, you could also set a geofence up around your customer's address, and instead of having the notification come to yourself, have the notification go to your customer. That way, say if you're a courier or a delivery company, they will get the notification that your driver has arrived with their parcel. My favorite example was a customer who I helped set up a geofence around a sandwich shop in Sheffield. The way he told it to me was his drivers had a bad habit of leaving site on a Friday and picking themselves up some bacon butties on the clock. And he was telling me, I want to be notified as soon as they head to that shop. So, when you're implementing geofences for the first time, I find that there's some common mistakes with our customers, such as the first one I see is that customers will spend loads and loads of time setting up a geofence to cover a congestion zone or a toll road, which is a really good idea. Getting a notification if the vehicle enters the congestion zone, then you can check if the tax has been paid. But before you go ahead and spend ages setting that up, we already have pre-baked congestion zones into our system as a special type of geofence on every customer's map so that you can easily set up alerts if a vehicle enters or exits that area. Another mistake I see just simply comes down to geofence size. When you're creating your geofence, it's really important you make them large enough that it's going to capture wherever the vehicle's going to park. Otherwise, you might miss notifications and your activity reports on your geofencing side might not show correctly. So, my rule of thumb is always make the geofence a bit bigger than you think it needs to be, just to make sure that you capture the vehicle's activity. But if you ever do notice the vehicles are missing notifications or not appearing in your reports, you can always revisit the geofence and edit its size under the geofences tab. And I do see sometimes customers setting up their alerts in such a way that too many people receive those alerts and that they are basically active for 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. So I'm going to show you when we get onto the system how to set those up for those specific time ranges where it's only the times you're concerned with getting those notifications. So if I load onto our tracking system really quickly, and if I click this fence icon, first of all, you're going to be able to see all of the geofences currently loaded in on the map. And you can also see the congestion zones. If you click this hexagon icon over here, you can see Bradford over there. And if you hover your mouse over any of those, it is going to give you the name of that geofence. Now, to add a geofence on the system, you can either right click on the map and you can create a geofence at this location, or we can head over to the Geofences tab and we'll have a full list of geofences currently on our system. So if I click on any of these geofences, it's going to jump to their location so I can edit their details if I need to. However, I'm just going to go ahead and click on Add Geofence down here. Now, I'm just going to give this one a simple name, Jamie Demo. I can choose to categorize my geofence if I would like. So, say I'm going to set up geofences for my site addresses and for my driver's home addresses. I can set up categories so that that looks nice and neat when I'm on my geofences page. But for this one, I'm going to go ahead and leave uncategorized. I can also leave notes against a geofence. So maybe that's contact details for somebody on site or access codes if you need a security key to get in. And you can choose what color you would like the geofence to appear as on your map as well. Now at the bottom, you can choose whether you want your geofence to be a polygon or a circle. I really prefer the polygon option just because that gives you a bit more customization about the shape and size of the geofence. And if you're creating a polygon, all you need to do is start clicking on your map and you'll be basically creating the corners that your geofence is going to cover. You can use as many of these corners as you like. So I'm just going to cover this area here. And the geofence will finish loading in when I link up the last corner with the first corner like this. You can see here, now we have the Jamie demo geofence. All I need to do is click the create button up here, and that's now added in to our system. You can see that there. So once you've created your geofence, it's not going to do much immediately until we start looking in other areas of the system. So if I take a quick look at the report side of things, I can go to vehicle reports and I can generate a geofence report. If I choose my date range, and if I choose the asset I'm concerned with, so I know the Ram truck has been in and out of the Ram HQ geofence today, for example. If I just go ahead and create that report, what this is basically going to show me is every time the vehicle entered or exited the headquarters geofence and how long the vehicle spent inside that geofence, both on an individual visit and on a daily total basis. So I can also go to the alert side of things. And right up here, you're going to see geofence alerts. So if I go to create geofence alerts, let's say that Tom in the Ram truck, let's say he's got a bad habit of leaving the office early, before 5 o'clock when we're meant to be allowed to leave. So I want to get a notification if he leaves the office, say between 9 and 5. So geofence alerts, choose the vehicle that I'm concerned with, choose when I would like this to be active, choose the time of day that I would like this to be active. So I'm only concerned with 9 and 5. Ooh, I could type it in, right? That would be great. And 5. And then which geofences I'm concerned with. So I'm just going to load in the Ram HQ one here. Underneath, I can choose whether I want to be notified for entry or exit or both. So I'm only concerned with exit here. And this is all to help manage those alert overload situations, making sure that you're not getting alerts when you don't need them. Then I just need to choose which users of the system are going to get that notification. I'm going to use this email right here, and I'll create. And that's now added to my list of geofence alerts. So let's just jump back into my presentation because to round out today's session, I've actually been sent a few questions from our customers. So I'm going to take a quick look down these here. Just bear with me. The first is what happens if GPS is lost? Okay, so if your tracker ever loses GPS connection, its location is going to stop updating. So similar to when you go into a tunnel or a car park and your sat nav can't quite tell where you are, it's going to stop updating its location. So let's say, for example, the vehicle leaves the geofence area, it's lost GPS. But so you wouldn't get notified straight away if you had alerts because essentially we've not detected the vehicle moving outside the geofence. But as soon as GPS connection is restored and we see that the vehicle is no longer inside the geofence, you would then receive that alert notification. Yeah, thank you very much for that one. Um, I've got another one here. How large or small can geofences be? Is there an upper limit? That's another really good question. The answer is no. You can make a geofence as large or small as you like. There's no limit on that. So, for example, if I just come out of here, I can go over to uh, my map and I can just create a geofence around, let's say, all of Manchester, if I'd like. Now, the problem with this is that when I run my reports, what we do is we overwrite all street names with the geofence name if your vehicle is inside the geofence. So if we ran a report, say a travel report or a detail report for the vehicle's activity and it went through Manchester, all of the street names would just show up as Manchester. So I wouldn't generally recommend you set up a geofence like that. What I would do instead, say if you're wanting to be notified if the vehicle exits your service area, then I would say set up checkpoints along the main roads outside of the city. That way you can be notified if the vehicle's leaving the area. Thanks very much for that. Okay. How do you address privacy concerns? Um, that'll be the drivers who have the privacy concerns. And it's not even really just a geofencing problem. This is just a tracking problem in general. And to be honest, it's kind of reasonable. I think it's a concern a lot of fleet managers get brought to them, especially when they start bringing in tracking strategies for their vehicle assets. Um, by and large, the thing is that when you're tracking a vehicle, you're not really tracking the driver, you're tracking your asset. So you as a fleet manager, you're just using the tools at your disposal to avoid the misuse of assets. Um, what I do think is probably nice about the geofencing side of things, though, is that by setting up your reports and your alerts the way that you want them to, as a fleet manager, you're actually looking at those drivers' activity less. So you're not constantly checking in on their tracker's location, and you're instead getting that automatic notification if something concerning happens. So you can try and reassure them on that side that way. No, that's another really good question. Um, Last question I've been sent is there any common mistakes? Well, we did sort of already cover mistakes that I see quite often, but there is one thing actually that it comes to mind. So say we just created a geofence here. Say I wanted to build a report about vehicles activity down in this area. But I've not made a geofence for it before. So I'm just going to call it Cornwall, create myself up a geofence really quick, and then I go and try and run a report based on the vehicle's activity in that area. That's not going to work because the geofence report only starts recording data from the moment you created that geofence. So I would instead recommend going down, looking at travel reports or detail reports if you're needing tracking information about that area, but you wouldn't be able to use a geofence report in that scenario. Um, I would generally just to avoid that, I would just recommend setting up all the geofences you think you're going to need in one go. But as I say, you can always fall back on our other reporting options, like the travel report, which travel report just shows you where the location of vehicle began and ended its journey, and then some stats about its activity. Um, but I think that does cover pretty much everything I wanted to talk to you about today. So I really hope that this webinar session has been useful for you, and I hope it's given you a good idea about what geofences can do for you and your business as part of your tracking implementation. So if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to get in contact with our customer support teams,